Minimum wage workers need to work 122 hours a week to afford a one-bedroom apartment. Welcome to 2025. So let's talk about what's really going on, because calling it a housing crisis feels way too polite. This is a housing scam, one that has eaten deep into the fabric of the nation, causing maladies at every turn. For decades, Americans were sold the vision that homeownership was part and parcel of the American dream. Work hard, save hard, be frugal, and eventually you'll own a home. But somewhere along the way, that promise, a vision millions of Americans desperately clung to, got ripped up and replaced with something a lot darker. You see, the golden rule by most real estate agents was that buyers can afford a home equal to roughly 2.6 years of your household income. Since the 1960s, however, the difference between home prices and income has widened astronomically. The nationwide price-to-income ratio is over 3.6, meaning over 3.5 years of household income is necessary just to purchase a house, a shocking reality given median home prices increased 121% nationwide since 1960, while median household income only increased 29%. Think that's crazy? Well, let's crunch some more numbers. In 1967, homes cost about 3.2 times the median income. By 2022, that ratio had nearly doubled to 6 times. While income rose at 953% since 1967, home prices jumped 1,839%. And renters are also hit hard, as median rent has climbed 72% since the 1960s, outpacing income growth and making it harder to save for a home. It's kind of like trying to win a race where the finish line keeps moving further away, and you're running barefoot. And now let's layer in the investors. In the last decade, institutional investors, massive corporations, and private equity firms have quietly scooped up thousands of single-family homes across the country, and by 2030, these institutions are projected to hold north of 7 million homes, or more than 40% of all single-family rentals on the market. And these aren't just properties, they're profit machines. Bought in bulk, renovated quickly, and rented out at a premium. For every first-time home buyer making an offer, there's a Wall Street-backed fund paying in cash and over-asking price just to turn a neighborhood into an asset portfolio. And then there's the mortgage reality. Remember when mortgage rates hovering above 5% used to signal a housing crisis? Well, not anymore. Experts predict mortgage rates will still be above 6.5% by the end of 2025. And when you combine that with record high home prices and the fact that the average monthly mortgage payment is out of reach for most working Americans, why wouldn't buying a home become a distant dream? And renting isn't even the safer option anymore. Median rent for a one-bedroom in many cities has surged past $2,500. That's more than half of a full-time minimum wage worker's monthly income, before taxes. So what's the result? Millions are stuck in a loop, renting forever, unable to save, watching ownership slip further away with every rate hike and price surge. The system says if you work hard, you'll make it. But it's no longer true for most Americans, especially when the American dream is snatched long before it even begins. Yes, you heard right. Millions of Americans are stepping into adulthood already tens of thousands of dollars in debt, long before their first apartment, before their first paycheck, and before their first real chance. Don't believe me? Well, roughly 1 in 5 Americans hold student debt, with most graduating with around $30,000 in loans. This was a non-issue in the late 1980s and early 1990s, as most high schoolers didn't enroll at colleges or universities, and of those that did, less than half borrowed money to do so. Fast forward to 2022, though, and almost 2/3 of recent high school graduates took out student loans. As of the start of 2024, 43 million U.S. borrowers collectively owed more than $1.6 trillion in federal student loans. And adding private loans brings that amount above $1.7 trillion, meaning total student debt exceeds that of auto loans and credit cards. Only home mortgage debt is larger at over $12 trillion. As unfortunate as it is, many US students take on debt because college is often essential for landing high-paying jobs. According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, someone with a bachelor's degree earns about 1.8 times more than a high school graduate, while those with advanced degrees earn more than twice as much. But is it worth it, though? Well, it's hard to say. Wages are yet to keep pace with the growing debt. Over the past year, wages and salaries increased by 3.4%, but when adjusted for inflation, real wage growth was only 1%. And the strain is evident in repayment struggles. As of early 2025, 20.5% of federal student loan borrowers with a payment due are 90 days or more past due, the highest delinquency rate ever recorded. And this isn't just about numbers, it's about real people delaying life milestones, buying homes, starting families, or even pursuing careers in their fields of study because of the financial weight they carry. The result, if you need reminding, is a generation caught in a financial trap, starting their adult lives already behind, with limited means to catch up. Yes, the promise of education leading to prosperity is dwindling, replaced by a cycle of debt and deferred dreams. But you're probably wondering, why not just work harder? Put in more hours, earn more money, pay off your debt faster, and claw your way back to the American dream. After all, Elon Musk famously said, "Work like hell. You just have to put in 80 to 100-hour weeks every week. This improves the odds of success." And while there is some truth to that, the harsh reality is that the system is an elaborate lie, one I'd like to call the hustle culture gaslighting. Think of it this way. If hard work alone guaranteed success, then the people working the longest hours, manual laborers, service workers, night shift staff, would be the wealthiest among us. But that's not how the system works. Those who work the hardest often just end up with more tasks, not more money. Meanwhile, the top-paid CEOs aren't rewarded for clocking in hours. We've all heard it. You just have to hustle harder. Wake up at 5 a.m., grind, repeat. That's how you win. It's all on social media and motivational podcasts, even from politicians and CEOs. But it's more exploitative than empowering. For decades now, workers have been told that if they just work longer hours, take on side gigs, skip vacations, and outgrind the next person, they'll make it. But the only reward most workers get is more productivity when wages are still subpar. So where did all that extra value go? Not to the people doing the actual work. Instead, corporate profits have soared, executive bonuses have ballooned, and stock buybacks have reached historic highs. This is where the gaslighting comes in, hoping to keep them going. Because no matter how hard many Americans work, the cost of simply existing continues to outpace what they earn. Rent, groceries, gas, childcare, everything is rising except their paychecks. The hustle harder myth creates an illusion of control while hiding the reality of structural inequality. But perhaps the worst part of the hustle culture is the glorification of burnout. Overwork is seen as a badge of honor, rest is laziness, and don't even get me started on the poor mental and physiological health care. So no, working harder isn't the problem. People are already working harder than ever. The problem is that we're all working hard on a losing game. But if you still don't believe me, if all this still sounds like complaining instead of reality, then let's talk about the new system. Not the one we were promised in textbooks or graduation speeches. I mean the system people are living in right now, every single day. Let's start with the obvious. Home ownership isn't the goal anymore because for many, it's not even an option. For much of the 20th century, owning a home symbolized the American dream, offering financial stability, community, and a path to generational wealth. But today, home affordability is now at its worst since the 1980s, and nearly 40% of middle-class renters are burdened by housing costs. Stagnant wages, rising rents, and high home prices, especially in urban centers, make it nearly impossible for many to save for a down payment or qualify for a mortgage. At the same time, large investors have turned housing into a profit-driven asset, snapping up homes and driving prices even higher. But for those lucky homeowners, they now have 40 to 50 times the net worth of renters who bill no equity despite monthly payments. And this isn't just an individual problem, it's a generational one. When families can't build wealth, they can't pass it on. That means their children start adult life with fewer resources, fewer safety nets, and less room to take risks. Little wonder why Americans are all falling into more student debt whilst buying into the hustle-hard culture. And while you're doing all of that, let's hope you're not counting on a pension, because for millions of workers, pensions are a thing of the past. Decades ago, retirement was supported by defined benefit plans where companies guaranteed your income after you stopped working, but most of those plans have been gutted or replaced with fragile 401ks that shift all the risk onto workers. And that's people who often don't even earn enough to contribute in the first place. And that brings us to the final bitter truth. Retirement isn't what it used to be. There was a time when 60 meant slowing down, when your parents or grandparents looked forward to their golden years, traveling, spending time with grandkids, gardening, maybe even a little golf. Alas, more and more Americans are working into their 70s today. Some by choice, but many because they simply can't afford to stop. And can you blame them? The Social Security age keeps inching higher, savings accounts are nearly empty, and medical bills pile up. Why wouldn't they be stuck in an infinite loop of working shifts at an age when they should be resting? And no, none of it is a mistake. Each and every one of these problems were the result of decades of deliberate economic policy, of backroom deals and deregulation, of letting Wall Street dictate how ordinary Americans should live. They sold you the dream, then raised the price. Home ownership out of reach, retirement pushed further away, college a lifetime of debt. And through it all, they told you to just work harder, that it was your fault for not keeping up. Every generation is told it'll be better than the last. But if you look around, you know something's wrong. And if we don't talk about it, if we don't confront it, they'll keep getting away with it. So now I ask you, can you finally see why the American dream is dead? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs to hear it. You might want to subscribe to the channel while you're at it, because we're just getting started.